What's up everyone? It's Justin here with the Real Keeper Home team and welcome back to our channel, Everything Jax Real Estate. Today's video, we're going to be doing another market update report for December of 2023 as pertains to the city of Jacksonville as a whole. So we've had a lot of changes throughout the year this year, and so it's important to highlight what we're seeing happen here in Jacksonville. And this data we're going to go through is going to give you a good idea of the changes we've seen throughout the year, specifically the last 6 months of the year and really the last month or so. So before we get into the video though, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notified when we post more content like this in the future. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and start off and looking at the data for the city of Jacksonville. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the amount of homes that are on the market in December, and we're going to then see how many of those homes went under contract in December. So what we're going to see here is that there was 1,233 homes that were on the market in December, with 303 of them receiving a contract in December. This gave us a 24.6% pending to list ratio, which really means that for every 4 homes in the market in Jacksonville, 1 of them is going under contract. Now this is really good data to know because it gives you an idea of just how much supply is in the market as well as how much demand there is for that supply. And so really at 24%, it's really more of a mildly active market currently, which has been the case throughout all of 2023. Now, when we also take a closer look, we will see that the predominantly highest amount price point wise of homes that did receive contracts were homes in the $300,000 to $400,000 price range. As that relates to homes that hit the market, we also saw that homes in the $300,000 to $400,000 price range had the largest amount of homes actually on the market. Lastly, we saw that the median list price of all homes was $479,000, which tells us that there's more homes above $400,000 than there are below $300,000, since that was the highest amount of homes in the market price point wise, but the median list price was above that. Now we're going to look at the graph next, and this is going to measure the number of listings for sale versus the amount of pending contracts. And what you can see here is there's a really large supply of homes for sale, anywhere from that really $300,000 price point to the $400,000 price point for the city of Jacksonville, and that there's a pretty big discrepancy between the amount of homes available versus the ones under contract. We don't really see the amount of homes under contract start to creep closer to the amount of homes available until you really get to about $800,000. So you may ask yourself, what does that mean? What that tells us is that homes under $800,000 does have a little more inventory, and therefore, as a buyer, you should technically be able to have a more room to negotiate, or at the very least have more options to choose from. Now, if you're looking for a home over $800,000, you're probably in a position where there's not as many homes to choose from, or you may be dealing with more competition than you would have expected. Next, we're going to look at the number of homes that actually sold in the last 6 months for the area. And what we see is there's roughly just under 2,300 homes, 2,293, that sold in the area for the last 6 months. For those homes, the median sale price was $420,000, which was actually a little bit, around $50,000 less than the median list price for the area just recently. We do notice too that the largest amount of homes that sold in the area, price point wise, was around $300,000 to $400,000 for the last 6 months. Alternatively, we did also see there were 695 homes that failed to sell. Now you may ask yourself, what does that mean when a house fails to sell? Well, it can mean many different things. It can mean that a seller decided to take off the market because they don't want to sell anymore for different reasons. Maybe they just didn't get the price they wanted. Maybe, they had a job relocation that isn't happening. Maybe it wasn't marketed properly by the realtor. That's why it's really important to work with the right person when you are selling your house. Sometimes it can be many other factors as well. It could be that the condition didn't warrant the price. It could be the price was too high. It could be that it's just the location that there was too much demand and too much supply, and a seller decided not today. But it is important to note because as we go further along in future months, it is good to know if that's a trend that's going up to seeing more go off the market or coming down to seeing less come off the market. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Next, we're going to look at days on market. Now we're going to look at the days on market for all active listings. We're also going to compare it to the days on market for homes that have sold in the last 6 months and homes that have sold in just the past month, because there's always great trends you can find from looking at that. So the first thing you're going to notice is that for all active listings, the median days on market was 62 days. 62 days means that for all homes that are on the market currently, they're sitting for roughly 2 months with still no offers. What that means is that if you are looking to sell your home currently or in the first quarter of 2024, do expect that you may be sitting on the market for a couple months to find the right buyer for your home. It doesn't mean that that's always going to happen, because if you have your home priced well and the condition warrants the price, the homes will tend to sell fairly quickly. But it does mean to be cautious and understanding that it's not going to sell right away compared to maybe in years past. Now, what we also see is for homes that sold in the last 6 months, the median days on market for those sales was 29 days. So what that means is that for homes that were priced properly, that had a good condition and were in the right area for what buyers were looking for, they sold in roughly half the amount of time compared to the homes that are still on the market currently. We also saw too that in regards to the last 30 days, the median days on market is 33 days on the market. So what that tells us is that for the city of Jacksonville as a whole, houses are taking a little bit longer to sell, more recently than in the last 6 months as a whole. And so therefore, it just means that there's maybe a little bit less demand now than there had been previously. Now, we also can see here that the median sold price in the last 30 days was $437,500, which does also point to the fact that even though houses are taking longer to sell and houses are staying in the market longer, they're still getting a higher price now than they were 6 months ago. Overall though, the last thing we are going to highlight here is the median listed sales ratio for the area, which in this case was 98.1%. What that means is that for every house that sells, a seller is getting roughly 98% of what they're asking for that house. The higher the number is, the more it is a seller's market typically. The low number that is, the more it is a buyer's market. But what this tells us is that sellers are willing to negotiate because they understand that rates are very high right now. And so they have to be able to do other things to make their homes more attractive to sell to buyers, such as coming off their list price, or in other situations we've seen, pay for closing costs or rate buy downs. Also, we do have to look at the absorption rate. The absorption rate is going to give us an indicator of where inventory levels are currently, and also lets us know what to expect moving forward. And so the absorption rate for the city of Jacksonville right now is 2.4 months of inventory. What that means is that if no new homes hit the market after December 31st, we would be out of homes to sell in 75 days, or roughly middle of March. That's pretty massive. That means that if you're looking for a house at the end of March, you wouldn't have a house if, obviously no new homes hit the market. At 2.4 months of inventory, it still means that it's a seller's market, but what the 98% does also show us is it shows us that even though it's a seller's market, sellers are willing to negotiate and sellers are willing to offer up different concessions to make it more attractive for a buyer. Lastly, we're going to end with this table. And the reason we want to end with this table is it gives you and it paints a picture of first of all, what the absorption rate is for each individual price point in Jacksonville, but also shows you that absorption rate, how attractive is that area and how much demand is in that area. And what we can see here is really until you hit about a $600,000 price point for Jacksonville, you're going to be in a very heavy seller's market where there's not a ton of supply and demand is still very strong. Once you go over 600,000, you still see some of those reds, which means it's a heavy seller's market, but you see some oranges too, which means that you as a buyer will have more options to choose from because there is more inventory there. All right, so that's going to end our market update video. I do want to give some final thoughts on 2023. 2023 was a very challenging year for realtors and lenders. It also was a very challenging year for buyers and sellers. Early in the year, buyers and sellers were having a lot of success because rates were staying pretty steady. But as we hit the back end of the year and rates hit their peak of high sevens, you did run into a situation where buyers started to sit on the sidelines, sellers started to sit on the sidelines, and so we saw many less transactions, many less homes being bought and sold in 2023 than we did in previous years. Now, where do we see that go in 2024? We do expect the transaction count to go up some, because realistically, with rates starting to come back down, at the recording of this video, we've already seen almost probably a percentage point come down since October, and there is thoughts that it will come down further throughout the rest of this year. So that happening, that will increase buyer demand, will increase supply, and will also increase price points. The question is, how far? All right, now, if you had any questions on this video about the City of Jacksonville with the market update, or if you just have any questions about any specific neighborhoods here in Jacksonville, down below in the description of this video is a link to my Calendly. On my Calendly, you can actually set up a time for us to meet face-to-face, or on Zoom, or even just a phone call, so we can further discuss your questions and also discuss many different neighborhoods you may be interested in, because ultimately, I want to make sure that if you are looking to make a move here to Jacksonville, that we take care of your family's wants and your needs and help make the process as smooth as possible for you and your family. All right, now, until next time, I'll see you guys again in the next video.